Made out all right after the storm yesterday, brief as it was, but violent as it was. All is well at the Cameron household. I hope the same for you. Hopefully, if you had to deal with power outages and the like, that it wasn't too long lasting. But because of it, we had a shortened version, not too much shortened, but a little bit shortened of headlines yesterday. So our apologies for that. I think we were able to piece it together, and then here we go. We go and get into the news of the day, and I'm excited about it. By the way, one of the guys that we didn't get a chance to talk about, Uiagalelei, the Durojai, you gave it a weird look. You gave it a weird look, Tom Wayne. I think I had it right the first time.
Who gave it a weird look? What are you talking about? I'm just the man behind the curtain. Nobody look over here.
Yeah, I thought you gave it a weird look. Timawa Durojai. Durojai. Yeah, that's it. How would you say it?
I would answer right now. He's from Latvia, Jeff, because it feels very much like the NBA draft game. Tomiwa Durojai, I believe is how.
Durojai is the problem. Okay, yeah. Tomiwa Durojai. Durojai, and I even heard him say it himself, and I still screwed it up because it was, from the time I left the house to the time I got here. That's how it works. Anyhow, I like the pickup is the point. It's the West Virginia defensive end I've been talking about. He's athletic as all hell, and we get him for more than a year. I think this is going to be a nice piece. Somebody in the chat right off the bat asking questions about what's happening at that position and whether or not I think he's a good piece. Does he meet my approval as a plug-and-play replacement for Verse? Will he be a game wrecker for us in 2024? That's from R. Gilmore. I don't think he's that. Not yet. He could be. Who knows? We'll see what he becomes as a player, but I do think he is a useful piece for you right off the bat. Durojai is a kid that is really athletic, and he's I think he's got a chance. Now, listen, one of the things that stands out when you watch his tape or you just watch the highlight reels, one of the things is that he's undersized a little bit, but remember, he was 18 years old having to play right away at West Virginia, and so I think you're only going to get a better version of him as he emerges, as he gets stronger, and he has better pieces around him. So I think that was a good get there. This is part of a trend here. Florida State's in a good place right now. Okay, you guys know I've been a little worried, and I've been watching very closely. And I've always thrown the caveat out early in these discussions while we're waiting in the transfer portal. Part of Florida State's problem, if you want to call it a problem, has been the successes early on in the portal and the assumed ability to be able to sustain at that high a level player acquisition, talent acquisition in the portal at that same level. We've always warned that could be a problem, that is not necessarily a guarantee. It's hard to replicate that year in and year out. Sometimes there are just not enough good players at the position you need, for example, and you're unable to sustain it. So we'll see. But we have also noted that I've thought that they would do very well. They have a good message. They've done a very good job in winning kids over and getting them to adapt to culture and teaching them what it's like to come play here at Florida State. Those kids, in turn, have been able to look at the successes on the field and now the wins, obviously, and say, okay, look, makes sense to me. It will be fascinating because there are a lot of things in the work. There's a buzz right now, and I want to start here. Okay, so the Durojai signing is a good signing. But I know, like a lot of you say, okay, well, that's nice. Are we going to get a linebacker? Oddly, there's buzz that we are going to get a linebacker and a familiar one at that. So we'll see. Now, that doesn't cause me to ring the bell.
I would say really quickly, let me interject. It has broken across the wire in the last 4 to 5 minutes that DJ Lundy has indeed withdrawn his name from the transfer portal. So even though he went to Colorado, committed to Colorado, took a photo shoot in a Colorado uniform, he's withdrawn his name from the transfer portal, signaling that he is indeed coming back to Florida State.
Yeah, so that was out there for the last 48 hours. Now, I have mixed emotions about this. Good luck to DJ Lundy. Florida State needs bodies at linebacker. It would maybe make some sense to bring him back. He's not a dynamic player, guys. He's an okay player, but you need him because you don't have a lot of experience there and you don't have a ton of talent there. So I think that's good. He'll come back. Okay, he can play a role there. He does one thing very well, and that's stopping the run. So that's good. That's fine. Now, I would say that you've got more work to do at that position, and it is my hope, obviously, that you would be able to go out and make a run at the kid at Alabama who obviously put his name in the portal a couple days ago. We'll see if that happens. I don't have a lot of faith in this linebacker coach and his ability to get kids on campus or to recruit, to do really much of anything. So I don't have a lot of faith in that. I'll sit back and wait. It is my hope, certainly, that will happen. They're going to need more help there. Cross your fingers. I think, and I do believe this is going to be true, I think that I want to phrase this the right way. I think Florida State is in a good position right now along the offensive line and potential to add to the offensive line. I think that hopefully by Friday, we're going to hear some good news on that front. That I trust Alex Atkins here, and I trust the collective, the battle's in. And there appears to be some really positive momentum right now regarding the offensive line. So we'll see. I'm not guaranteeing anything. It's hard to do that these days, but there's a lot of positive energy right now along the offensive line. And that's a big deal because I think they could use the help there. And then I think it's interesting because they're still fighting for a few key pieces on the defensive side of the ball. And if you're able to, we've already seen it with the Jahi, I'll get this right eventually, pick up that's a plus. You've already got, and again, we tend to forget these things because it's in the rear view. Marvin Jones Jr., who a lot of people just assume he's going to come in and be great. I hope so. I mean, there's potential for that. I don't want to assume that, but we forget we even got him because it happened before all this went down. But we also have him. So if you're looking at defensive end and your concerns were that, oh, man, I don't know about the number of bodies after Peyton that I feel very good about. Well, no, now you've got real momentum there. Probably not done. There's probably another kid or so that they'll bring in at that position. So now all of a sudden you seem to have an excess of defensive ends that you can rotate and feel good about. They still have to figure out, and we don't know what's going to happen with Briggs. When we're talking about defensive tackle, there's going to be perhaps, I think, some more news there in addition to the kid from Colorado State that they already brought in, that there may be another player or two before it's all said and done. That they bring in, and we don't know what's going to happen with Dennis Briggs. He's got to decide whether or not he's coming back and playing football or not, so it'll be curious to see. So wait on that. And then offensive line, there is a real good buzz going on right now that I just talked about. So that's where we're at. And if you can we know of the one offensive lineman that's out there that everybody is excited about. We've already talked a little bit about one of the guys, Richie Leonard, who's an offensive lineman from UF. I think he's a possibility, certainly. And then, the guy I've been, beating the drum for, which is the Ferguson kid out of Alabama. Been beating the drum for him for some time if you can get him. And it is my understanding Florida State is still very much in that battle. If you believe the word on the streets, it's a battle between Florida State and Oklahoma. So it's an intense battle for a high-profile player out of Alabama. But let's see what we got. I think they got a real chance there. And then we know this is the other part of this is you're just trying to look at the makeup of this team. And Tom, you and I were doing some things earlier today where we're kind of working with our folks over in Ireland, and it got me thinking about what is the team going to look like that we roll out in Ireland. And this is the patience line over and over again where you say, well, I'm not sure, but I know we got a new quarterback that's a good bridge quarterback. I know we went and recruited a bunch of speed at wide receiver to go along with the pieces we already had that we liked. There were already three receivers that I really liked that were coming back anyhow, maybe 4 if you want to count Portier. And then you want to now add to that with this speed, and you bring in the kid from Indiana as well, who's lightning quick in special teams. And now you've brought in a couple of defensive ends that you feel good about. You may upgrade this offensive line. The one glaring piece that is missing right now is linebacker. I'm told that there are some opportunities probably that await and will be pushed back to spring, where you may be able to add from the portal yet again in spring. So here we go. This is starting to shape up. I'm not telling you this team's going 13-0 again, but I am telling you that some of the positions of concern and lack of depth look like they're being filled, and you've got the makings of a pretty damn good football team again.
Yeah, they're getting there. They're getting there. Like, if you did nothing else with the defensive end position, just call it edge rusher, whatever you want to call it. I know they're very different things in one side of the football and the other for Florida State. But if you did nothing else and you had Patrick Payton and Marvin Jones Jr. on one side, and then you had Duro Ajayi and then Byron Turner on the other side, that's not bad. Could it be better? Yes. And might it even get better pretty soon with what Florida State is doing in the portal? Yes. But that's not a bad 4-man rotation already. If you retain Jackson and you retain Josh Farmer, you added the Grady Kelly kid, you elevate a player like a Lyons, KJ Sampson, maybe you bring in another, that's not bad. Defensive back Earl Little helps stabilize things, brings a little bit more veteran presence to the safety or slot corner group, along with Shaheem Brown. You like what you have at corner. Saw Zaire Thomas is switching his number to 8 in part of that announcement with the battle's end. So he's locked in for another year. You feel pretty good there. Beef is the order of the day on the offensive line. And if you land Ferguson, you just got a whole lot beefier on the offensive line. You can throw a lot of weight at the problem, which I like. Matches the quarterback you have, who has a cannon for an arm. And that means you're trying to bring in some deep threats, which Florida State successfully has
done. You see the game plan. What you're getting at is you see the game plan here, what they're trying to do. And I get it. They're still going to be lacking in some areas. Certainly there's no replacing Jordan Travis and his leadership and the kind of polished player that you had before the contusion of a Keon Coleman. Johnny Wilson, before his injuries began to mount, also a mismatch for folks. This reminds you of all the injuries they had. Jaheim Bell, before he got hurt, very, very effective for the first half of the season. But you see where the pieces are in place, and you realize that you've got some answers. I think Florida State's going to be a good football team again next year. I think that's where our mind goes. Like, okay, you're not going to replicate 13-0 in all likelihood. Fine. What is possible, though? Well, I mean, this far in advance, as you pick up these pieces, it changes every day when you add another piece to the puzzle about what's possible and where guys fit and who else you're looking after. So as of right now, or looking for. So as of right now, there are a couple guys out there whose names have been bandied about, but I'll leave alone. We'll wait and see. There's a potential for a big pickup in spring, I know, along the defensive line. So I'm waiting on that. Not somebody I want to talk about right now just yet, but I think it's a possibility. I didn't mention this at the outset. They're still in it. Florida State's still in it, certainly for the Oregon State defensive end. So now all of a sudden you got another guy that's played a ton. So getting interesting and exciting. And it's as if they have a game plan. Now, if they could just shift that game plan over there to the one segment group that continues to be a problem, because I don't view DJ Lundy returning as a huge get for Florida State. It's, I know he was here. He's played a lot of football for us. I think he's average to slightly above average as a player in the ACC.
Which
it's better to have him than not have him.
Yeah, which sadly means it's better. Your roster is better. Your starters are better if he's brought on by definition. With that being the case, the dynamics behind the scenes. I'm very interested. I pulled the screenshot. They haven't pulled it off of Colorado's website yet, but the photo of DJ Lundy as a part of the signing class, the way that Florida State did with a couple of transfer players, that they're updating it as they go with the high school kids, combining it with the transfer players and putting a master list out there for everybody to see. Yet Lundy is still on Colorado's website, photo and their gear and the listings and the eligibility. He's got 2 years to play one, all that kind of stuff. What a sign of the times that somebody who played for Florida State in the ACC championship game was not a part of the football program, not an opt-out, just not part of the program for the Orange Bowl is back in the fold. What a goofy time it is. And I'll just say this. I hope that we didn't have to like outbid somebody to bring him back, because that would be a sad statement on where we are as a segment group. I just hope it was he got out there and he realized they were full of crap as an organization. And he said, you know what? I was better off back in Tallahassee, thought the grass was greener. I got out here. It was cold as hell, and I'm being fed lies. So let me get back to Tallahassee if they'll have me. Hope it went that way.
Well, I think the part about where I go on the air all the time after we lose a kid or get a kid and remind myself, and I do so on the air because it serves as a reminder to the listeners to do the same, which is take a deep breath. We'll see. You know, I do the joke all the time. It is the Zen Master we'll see situation, because you hear about a kid. Listen, think back to Patrick Payton and remember how that went. And I went, well, let's see. I mean, I'm not so sure that's going to happen. And I cautioned everybody the night after he tweeted out that he was going to the portal. I'm like, yeah, maybe he will. Maybe he won't. Didn't seem likely to me, but perhaps.
But you can take this to a whole new level now. Lundy was on their website of the other program.
No, it doesn't matter. It's crazy. And this is the other part, like what I try to do as a host here in order to be able to lend context and also provide accurate information the best I can. One of the things I try to do is figure out, okay, look, I want to know the process. So you can say on social media anything you want, and everybody does. And you can say, I'm going to hit the portal and it's been real and have a good one and peace and respect the process and my decision and whatever dumbass thing you want to say. Everybody can do that. They can do that. You know, they can post that out there, but you actually have to go through a process, fill out paperwork, talk to coaches. There are more things you have to do to enter the portal. Then you can do all of those things and it still doesn't mean you're gone. It still doesn't mean you're gone. That's where we're at now. Then I fight to find out, well, what was the status of the relationship between the player and the program at the time that he left? Was this an encouraged move by the program, as in the head coach and or position group coach decided that it was in their best interest to enter their name in the portal, or were they embittered? Okay, well, then there's another layer to it. Let's say they were embittered. Okay, are they getting erroneous information fed to them by somebody who's acting as a representative who has no idea what they're doing and is just as gullible as the kid, and hearing about fame and fortune elsewhere that just simply doesn't exist, which means at that point that they arrive and the rubber meets the road and they need to get paid and they find out that it was all a sham, that it was a lie, that it was a mirage, it never existed, then they want back. Can they get back? Well, I don't know. Again, let's circle back to what I just asked. What was the relationship between the player and the program at the time that they tweeted something dumb, or that they stormed into the office and said they wanted out, or that they demanded a bunch of money even though they're a marginal player? So then you got to find out all of these different facets of what is happening. And then you got to find out, is it severed? Is there no coming back? Is something that was said a bridge too far? Did they say something to a coach? Did they say something to the head coach? Did they say something, whatever? Did they do something to disrupt the apple cart in the locker room? Are they a poison pill? Okay, now you got to figure out, well, is it even reasonable to suspect that they would bother to bring this guy back? Is it something that you would entertain? Also, what caliber of player he is decides whether or not that you'll consider all of these other factors. If you're just an average-ass player that was a nice depth piece, and you go vitriolic, insane rant on the head coach because you think you're being jobbed because you're getting bad information from a rep who doesn't have your best interest in mind, but is only surfing for his own payday, well, probably not going to make it back. Probably going to be told, watch out who you hang out with. Good luck to you at Samford. Okay, and then from there, you come on the air and you say, well, this is where we're at. This is where we're at, guys. I'm not real sure he's going anywhere. We'll see. And then other times you go out and you go, oh, there ain't no coming back. That dude's gone. We wish him well. Hope he succeeds at Southern Miss. You just don't know how it's going to work.
The only positive I can think of in a situation like this, like I would be petty if this was let's just contrive a situation and say it was about money and then you want to come back. I think we had somebody go to Colorado, not named DJ Lundy, who might be in this camp, but it was about money. You get out to Colorado, you realize, oh, crap. You know what? The Battle's End's pretty good at what it does. What say you about letting me back in this program? And I think one of those players was not allowed back in the program last year. But this is where I would be petty if I was a member of the collective. I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to pay you $50. 50 cash. $100 cash.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, this is, and that is that's another conversation where I could do the thing I just did. I could tell you that's a whole nother conversation that may or may not involve coaches and everything else, where you're like, okay, where are we at with all this? What am I allowed to say and not say? It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Decision right now to get lasting relief from that awful joint pain for 2024. Don't go around another year compromising because of that pain in your knees or shoulder. Call QC Kinetics now. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative, non-surgical pain relief. Your body has what it needs to restore and repair that damaged joint tissue. And QC Kinetics, it can make it happen. No drugs, no surgery, no downtime. The future of pain treatment has arrived, and QC has tens of thousands of satisfied patients all over America. People with back pain, hip pain, any pain associated with arthritis or an injury. This isn't a Band-Aid. This is a revolutionary treatment that can get you moving along. Get your life back. And listen, it's non-surgical. Take the first step now. Call QC Kinetics. Get a free consultation on the calendar today. Call 850-391-4280. That's 850-391-4280. Once again, 850-391-4280.
Whidden Glass has been taking care of business since 1945. When you call Whidden Glass, you're dealing with experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best. Like Whidden's top-of-the-line bath enclosures that provide style and luxury at an affordable price. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Whidden Glass. We'll help you design it and install it. Whidden Glass, the first name in glass replacement. Call 222-5781.
When I get home from work, I'm ready to relax. So I call Swain Pools and Spas and put my pool in the back. I call Swain Pools and Spas. Now I'm soaking up the fun when I want to.
Truckloads of new and used Caldera and Hot Spring Spas are available now at Swain Pools and Spas. Don't wait. Get to Swain Pools and browse the best inventory to find the spa of your dreams. These won't last long, so come see us today. Just look for the huge sign on Tharp Street or call 386-7113 for Swain Pools and Spas.
I know what you're thinking right now. Where can I find a place to get my car fixed and also check out some spas while I wait? Well, you're in luck. Because when you bring your car or truck in to get serviced at Tallahassee Car Care, it's under the same roof as Swain Pools and Spas for tires, brakes, batteries, tune-ups, oil changes, and all the service you need to get back on the road. Choose the certified technicians at Tallahassee Car Care. Drop by our shop on Tharp Street or visit online at TallahasseeCarCare.com.
Orthopedic pain and injury deserves effective treatment options now, so you feel better fast. Whether you have joint pain that won't subside or an urgent orthopedic injury, we are the specialists to get you back on your feet. And there's only one thing better than fast care: expert care. We believe you deserve both. TOC, only experts. Learn more at teamtoc.com.
Gee, honey, I'm not gonna lie. Our front yard is looking sad. Don't you think it's time for some TLJ?
I'm pretty sure you mean TLC, and I don't have time for all that work.
No, I'm talking about some TLJ, like in the radio commercials. Give your yard some TLJ from the Lawn Johns.
For all your lawn care and landscaping needs, give your yard the TLC it deserves with some TLJ. Call the Lawn Johns today for a free quote at 322-2567 or visit thelawnjohns.com.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network.
Check out warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State.
Back to a point you made, Tom, which was that we seem to have a clear-cut plan when it's, obviously size on the offensive line. We're getting beefy, got a big-ass quarterback, got a chance to roll big out there, and then you've got that speed that we've added at wide receiver to go along with what you have coming back. If they do get one of these other linemen, whether it's Ferguson or the I'm just naming guys that we know they're interested in, that they're fighting for and trying to bring in, and I'm hearing positive things, but we'll wait and see. And I'll reiterate, I've got a lot of faith in the collective, and I know how hard they work. But that Richie Leonard kid, somebody asked me about it, and you go look at him. I think he was a 3-star coming out, but he's a big old dude too. The kid from Florida, who's I think 6'3", 315, something like that. So that's a big boy, 6'2", 6'3", 310, 315. That would be once again along the lines of the beef we were talking about. And you mentioned Ferguson. They get him. This will be an interesting offensive line.
It just gets fascinating to see how they put the 5 together. They often talk about it's the best 5, might not be in a position that you expect a certain player to be in when you get to those 5. Just look at Darius Washington. He could play quite literally anywhere on the offensive line. I go back to some interviews, and maybe they weren't telling this transfer target the whole truth in the visit, but they said both guard positions are open. That, to me, leans towards Darius playing tackle for you. And he was pretty good at tackle. So if that's where he's going to play, okay, you bring in a player like Ferguson. Let's say for argument's sake you get him. Let's say for argument's sake you get Leonard as well. Okay, now you've got those 2 players with Keandre, Maurice at center, Byers playing tackle, I guess. Could they possibly try him out at guard last year? I'm not afraid to get back at the dish, man. I swung and missed. I thought that Byers was going to be a guard last year. They never repped him once that I saw.
One time, and I don't think they think he can play guard, Tom, or they would have repped him there. They would have had a need to. They had injuries there. It's interesting.
So what are you bringing him back for? Because if you're bringing back Scott and you think Washington's going to be a tackle and Simmons could elevate and Early could elevate, I mean, for depth at best, or do you think that maybe you could cross-train him?
Well, you learned that you had to have more depth, first of all, and then secondly, you trust that Robert Scott's going to play it down for you?
I do not, but they retained. I mean, they went to the point where the collective retained him, so there's got to be some faith on the level of the organization, at least the program.
Well, I think it's a good faith gesture for a guy that's played a ton of football for you, and that you're going to hope that he can come back. He's awesome in the locker room. He's a really hard worker. When he does play and he's healthy, it's been over a year since he's been healthy. When he's healthy, he's a very good player. He's just never healthy. So if he can get healthy, you want kids like that in your locker room. You want kids like that. He's the requisite size and strength. He works hard. He's a great presence in the locker room. You don't give up on a kid like that. I doubt they paid him a ton of money. I don't know what the number is, but, you would bring a kid like that back, I think, and just hope like hell he can get right, because I think he's a good player. That's, sometimes you have these sort of sympathy. Listen, if you offer a kid a scholarship to come play football for you, that means you've assessed him, you've analyzed him, and you've projected that he's going to do something for your lineup that improves your football team. And you bring him in, and he works his ass off, and he never gives you a problem. He goes to class, he lifts the weights, he's at practice every day, and then he plays a lot of football for you. And at some point, he emerges as a starter for you. And he's a good starter. He's a plus player. He wins awards. He's nominated for awards. He's that kind of player. If you have a guy like that who then gets hurt, you're going to honor the scholarship. You're going to do the right thing. You're going to bring him back if he wants to come back. So there are some kids that you would just say, yeah, come on. We got you. You've been a great warrior for us.
I'm not going to try and turn this into a discussion about, where do you draw the line, because there's a difference between honoring the scholarship and doing the collective thing. But I will, because the reason I will not turn into that discussion is because he played late in the year. He did play in the Orange Bowl. He
got in the game. Yeah.
He got in the game. He played. And the other thing is I would go back to fall camp. He was gearing up and it sounded like maybe, kind of, could he? We'll see. When he did get in there, those first couple of days, you were there at those practices with me. It looked so much easier. The offensive line. Like when he was available, like, okay, you know what? I thought he might get passed by some of the other options here in fall camp because he's not participating, wasn't there for spring. So maybe he got jumped on the depth chart. No, man, when he muscled up and he lined up and he played in camp and you got to see those reps, it was easy. It looked a hell of a lot easier for him. The question is, can he potentially be healthy enough the entirety of this calendar year? And what does that look like? Do you take it easy on him in spring? Like, I wonder how they're going to lay out the plan for him in terms of how much work he gets.
I'm very intrigued when this is all settled, signed, delivered, what Florida State looks like. We keep adding on a daily basis. It doesn't look like it's going to end before this Friday. There's going to be more additions to this roster. A few of them are some pretty big names. One of them in particular is a big name. There is the potential to add more in the spring. There's a guy I'm thinking about that if Florida State is able to bring in, changes the way you look on the defensive line, changes the way we project what they are. I think certainly if you're going to rank segment groups in the ACC, it would change where you would rank them. I think greatly. So let's just hold our breath here and see that they get all these pieces in place and they don't fail us in the portal. They haven't failed us in the portal in the past. I was getting a little worried here. There may be one segment group that does fail us. We'll address that. But if you have everything else worked out, we shall see what they're able to deliver. I think what's fascinating about all of this, too, is you're reminded that we look at the influx of talent. And if, let's say, I'm going to use this as an example. Let's say, just because of what they've already brought in, right? Let's say you bring in the prize prospect of the offensive line. Let's say you're able to bring in Ferguson from Alabama. Just remember, we were talking about what they can and can't do so far and how you're elevating talent and raising the floor of that talent. And you lose some kids. It's going to happen every year, either to graduation, the NFL, or transfer. All right. And then you start gauging what are you bringing back in, where are they from, and who wanted them. Whether that's out of high school, what was their star status, if you will. What have they done since they've been in college? Where did they go to school? Think about, Tom, you'd be talking about Alabama, LSU, West Virginia, which tier below, but not the, obviously not terrible. And you're starting to realize not just that you're elevating the floor, but look who is looking at us. Kids that played at LSU, kids that played at Georgia, kids that played at Alabama.
Yeah, I was going to add Georgia to that for sure. Yeah, I mean, and there are some that maybe you do pursue, some that you don't, but they're all taking a visit. That's one of the differences we've noted too in recruiting. You're not trying to carry water for some of the inability to close on a couple of the high caliber players the last few cycles for Florida State, but they are steadily rising in the ranks of high school classes, and it's because they're securing visits from elite prospects early in their high school career, early in that period where recruiting is a thing. Sophomore year, junior year, they're getting them on junior. Like they've got a junior day coming up the end of this month already. Think there's any rest for the weary with this staff or any staff in America? I think it's the weekend of the 20th and the 21st is when they host junior day for high school prospects. Well, a few years back, if you could host one of those things coming out of COVID, you wouldn't get a ton of 5-stars or 4-star players.
Correct.
Kids, we are on the radar. We are squarely on the radar, which is the step you have to take to become elite as a high school recruiting staff, as a destination, as a program. Portal-wise, we're elite. Everybody wants to take a look at us. High school-wise, we're getting closer. The kids are here for visits. Now it's just about closing them more often on signing day and getting into that top 5 when it comes to consensus recruiting rankings.
Struggling to get some linebackers on campus, oddly enough. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Local news now.
Parts of the Big Bend and South Georgia were under weather alerts on Tuesday. While the most severe alerts expired by afternoon, others remained in effect. Thousands of homes were without power on Tuesday morning, mainly in Wakulla County and Leon County. The Tallahassee International Airport suspended all flights until noon. The airport has since resumed normal operations. And heavy rain and strong wind gusts affected the area. There were several trees down across roadways, and a house was blown from its foundation. In Mariana, a gas station had severe damage, as well as buildings next to the gas station. Leon County officials say public works crews have cleared all roadways in the area of debris and blockages. This comes after trees and power lines were downed over roadways. The Leon County Sheriff's Office reported nearly a dozen road closures as a result. Governor Ron DeSantis has declared a state of emergency that includes 49 counties. This is Rachel Anay with your Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by McLemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at mclemoresystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Mainly sunny skies this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 57. Westerly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Cloudy skies expected tonight. Lows dip down to about 41. Overcast skies tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 63. Highs around 73 Friday with thunderstorms likely 73 Saturday. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, it's 54 degrees.
Your heating and air conditioning system doesn't check with you before it takes a break. That's why we're always ready to help. Any day, anytime, anywhere. And with our annual service agreement, there are no overtime charges. Ever. At Berno Heating and Air, we will always be there for you.
Berno Heating and Air Conditioning.
License CAC 1816-186.
So everybody knows, Eddie, that you are a spectacular cook. Of course they know that. If they go into Bumpa's, the food is always good. I mean, everything on the menu. Everything at Gordo's is delicious. I always, of course, get the bungalow chungla, as I call it.
The bungalow chung, Jeff?
Is that what is the pork?
The bungalow chung, Jeff.
Okay, the bungalow chungla. It's delicious. All of these things, all the items, everything you do, a master cook. But, sir, I would ask you, what is a skill that you possess that you're particularly proud of, that nobody would know, and that you could share with us here?
Growing hair, Jeff. Growing hair.
You're an asshole. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State.
Yes, dire straits. But as of right now, Tom, I think we're angling towards a little. I'm just starting to get a good vibe about the ding ding. Just letting you know. Just throwing it out there, just a little.
It's the little things I miss about being in that state already. And one of them is hearing that bell with my own ears. But I'm happy to hear that on this end of it, the people, because I experience it just as the people do, that is loud and clear. That's also a loud and proud dinging of the bell, I do believe.
Well, it was below the beep beep level a couple of games ago after whatever it was. We lost to like Bishop or Belmont or some nonsense school, and I was like, "What is not even somebody that good?" I can't. Who was it we lost to like a week ago? That was
Lipscomb.
Lipscomb. That's right. I was like, "What? This is over. We're done here." Lipscomb. But now, I'll beat that bell.
Hey, you never know. You could get a rematch with Lipscomb in the first round of the NIT. You never know. The ding ding.
Hey, listen, the NIT will feel like we've reached Valhalla. the way things have gone over the last number of years. I'm like, here it is. We're back in the NIT, baby. Now, they need a lot more in the way of wins in the future to turn this into any kind of a choo-choo. I was going to bed last night, and I tweeted out the ding-ding as I watched the end of that game. I don't get mad anymore when they win games, however they win games. I don't care if you blow a 13-point lead, not once but twice. I don't care. They're not good enough for me to be bickering about wins, baby. I'm just taking these wins and rolling on Big River. 87-82 in the TLC double C. You know what it tells you? Even with your little 9-game win streak, Wake Forest, you don't just roll on in to the TLC double C and expect to walk out of here with a victory. No, you don't. You don't do it. You don't just roll on in here expecting to come out with victory. Trailed mostly the whole game. We know who the better team was last night, Wake Forest. We know who that is. So for now, you can hear it off in the distance. The ding-ding is kind of excited. They're kind of like, well, we didn't think we'd be passing by here. Let's go give them a look. I heard they lost weight in Tallahassee. Let's take a good look at them. It's not bathing suit season yet, but maybe in March they may be able to break it out. They may be able to break it out.
It's especially impressive when you consider that Wake Forest has the fastest growing brand in America.
Oh, it's incredibly overcame it, Tom.
Florida State overcomes that. Thankfully, they generate 1 million turnovers on the way to the win last night. But you know what? I did regret something because no lead is safe with this Florida State team. No lead is safe.
No, they're not great. No.
When they get the steal and the dunk to go up 82-72, I said, this is a good win. And there's 2 minutes to go. And I go, you idiot. As I'm saying it, and it's just me and my wife, a couple animals around, because that's a good win. I go, you idiot. You shouldn't have done that because we're in a position against Virginia Tech where we're up 10 late, and that's a game. We blow the 14-point lead against Georgia or North Carolina. I think Georgia was 17. So I shouldn't have done that, but it's okay because we hit our free throws down the stretch. Even Worley hit 3 out of 4 down the stretch, which were huge for us.
He did, and Jameer Watkins was 11 for 11. He wasn't having it.
Watkins was awesome, and I thought actually the biggest play of the night from him was the and one, where somehow he spins the ball from the wrong side of the hoop to come around. It's almost like a boomerang and one that breaks a run that Wake Forest was going on when we were kind of coughing away our second half lead, and it felt like we couldn't get a stop, and we were just discombobulated on offense. We go through streaks on both ends of the court where they look really good, and then they look like they've never played before. And I think that basket helps settle everybody the hell down, which was huge. And then, of course, yeah, if you make all 11 of your free throws, that'll help as well.
It's fascinating to watch the team. It is a bit maddening, but I like Jameer Watkins. I think, obviously the inconsistency will drive you nuts, but when he's good, he's very good. He had 19 last night. Baba Miller has had 2 straight very good games and impactful games, and 14 points, 4 of 8 from the field, and a couple of threes, by the way. Those aren't the most beautiful things coming off of his hand. I know they count. He was 2 of 3. One of them was a bank job, but all right. 4 of 5 from the free throw line. But he had, they're long. Florida State's long. He had the 3 block shots from Baba last night, and Darren Green Jr. is what he is. 17 points, 3 of 5 from beyond the arc, 5 boards, had 5 steals last night, too. Florida State had 11 players who saw action last night, and all of them scored at least a basket. So it's kind of interesting. We were so bad, 6-5 in the non-conference, but we're now in a 3-way tie for second place in the ACC with Wake Forest, who just got some at the TLC Double C, and Duke, and then the loser of tonight's North Carolina NC State game in Raleigh will be in that mix of teams that are tied for second place in the ACC. The Noles play Saturday on the road against Notre Dame. The Irish are playing better since their coach went on a rant about playing walk-ons if things didn't get better from an effort standpoint. But they're not good. They're 7-9. They're 2-3 in the ACC, and they're relying on a lot of freshmen. So the Noles could go on the road and get an ACC win, Tom, and then what are we doing?
This is not quite –
I'll tell you what we're doing right there. That's what we're doing when that happens.
This is not quite 12 years ago or 13 years ago where you're going to win 52-48 or lose 52-48. But it does remind me of those days because even in that era, the alpha era of the junkyard dog, there were stretches of 4 or 5 minutes where the offense looked great and the defense was always going to be consistently great. But then it would drive you nuts for the better part of the game. This team has the ability on both ends of the court to take turns where they can't stop the ball. They got a real problem stopping the ball, like a lot. Driving to the basket, full court, the whole thing, where it looks like they're giant miscommunications. It looks like a team that goes on a 10-0 run will go on a 24-0 run, or some such run that North Carolina went on in Chapel Hill last month, which was absurd. But then there are times where they'll get 3 turnovers in 4 possessions, and it's all because they understand the principles. And there are times where 8 out of 10 possessions down the court, they look magnificent. So this is a team that if you've got blood pressure issues, if maybe you're coming off of maybe some coronary work, I would maybe not watch them as much because they will do the up and the down thing to the highest, most bipolar level.
Florida State basketball right now is battling back to a level of respectability. They're not a great team, but they have some depth, they have length, and there is some talent. So you're in games, you got to sit down and watch a game understanding that they're flawed as all hell. They're going to make all kinds of mistakes. They struggle to stay in front of guards. They don't hold leads. They're flawed, but they're not terrible. And I think that they're good enough to not make you embarrassed to watch a game, but you could go nuts watching them because of what you just described. And it's a fair warning. It's like going into a rated R movie that's violent or something. You got to, hey, listen, it's not the end of the world, but there's some stuff. And that's Florida State basketball where you're kind of like, all right, going to see some really great things here. It's not going to be sustained. It'll be a lag in the film, and you got to forgive it because it picks back up. It kind of picks back up. That's where we're at. That's what we're doing here. That's the kind of film it is.
It feels like if you were to make an analogy to an NFL team, they might be 28th in total defense, but they're top 5 in turnovers generated. There you go. There you go. How many points off the break can you get? How many turnovers can you force? This was also a team, even though we had trouble staying in front of them at times, this was a team we could switch against a little bit easier. There will be some that we've got no chance. But if you're trying to be positive about this, Florida State already has a win in that tournament over Colorado, which was ranked at the time, and Florida State dominated that basketball game for big stretches. They did go on the road, and while North Carolina went on a 50-0 run, it felt like that was also Tobacco Road induced and aided when you're talking about the whistle. But they were good enough in a position to have a double-digit lead on North Carolina on the road. And that is far and away the ACC's best team this year. So if you're looking for, as I said last week, opportunities for this basketball program to make you smile and legitimately say, all right, guys, that's a really good stinking win today, they're going to do it. They're going to do it at least twice more this season where you say, that is a really good win. There just may be one of those nights where you go play Boston College. I'm not sure if we go up and play them about 3 hours north of me in that barn, and it's 61-47, and you go, well, God, we forgot how to play.
Yeah, there'll be the type of team that has that in them. They already did it this year where you watched these games in the non-conference where you're like, well, they don't know how to play. But they also had times where they were injury riddled and they didn't have their full allotment of players out there, and they were trying to figure out who plays what role. I think they've got a better understanding of that right now. But they're just never going to be great. They'll be good enough to maybe hang in there and make it interesting. And let's hope I can keep ringing that bell for a little NIT appearance. I know that's not the be-all, end-all, not where we were coming from, where we had a stretch where Florida State was elite in the ACC, a top 2 team in the ACC annually for a stretch there. We've fallen off, there's no doubt, but we're climbing back to a measure of respectability. And that is what I want to see for Coach Ham. If this thing ends, I want it to be respectable. And it does create the question that, and we'll see what happens as the year goes on. What if they just keep winning? If they keep winning, the question's answered. But if they don't, and let's just say they become this solidified NIT team or a very, very low NCAA team, what is Florida State's basketball future? We know they're all in on football right now. They have to be. They have to sustain that. They have to continue to be there. The collective, when NIL happened, we were overjoyed that we had a collective like the Battles Inn emerge. It didn't happen right away, but that's the place we've arrived at now. And we know what the Battles Inn does to help football. We've talked about it at length, and there's direct evidence. We just watched that team, and what Florida State did was in part because of what the Battles Inn was able to provide. Basketball has no such fallback, and it does not have the cachet. So you're not going to win these battles for talent acquisition in basketball, not amongst the best of the best. You're not bringing in, Patrick Williams, who goes in the first round of the NBA draft. You're not bringing those kinds of players in anymore. And so it's unfortunate, but the expectation has to be dropped considerably. I know we all want it to be elite because it was for a moment, but it's not going to be. Not as it's currently constructed, it's not going to be.
Not in this conference. It's a funny thing. If you get out of these quote unquote basketball conference that's been careening into the side of a mountain for the last 5 to 7 years, if you get out of it, you will have a resurgence about 3 years after you get into the new one, where it's possible again. Because I think personally, just talking to some people who are into the talent acquisition game at Florida State, if you have the conference money coming in, they love basketball too, but they know that football drives the bus. And football is priority 1, 2, and 3 right now. But if you get money from somewhere else, I think some of the people that are invested in Florida State's success would help us land some basketball players.
Hour number 2, forthcoming. Stay with Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
If you've been waiting for the perfect time to buy your new house, you'll be waiting forever. This is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, and I have been a mortgage lender for over 20 years. And I can tell you that there is no such thing as perfect timing. So take the first step towards your new home and let me show you what that really looks like. Chances are very high that you'll be very surprised at what I can help you do. When rates go low, prices go high, and that home that you've been eyeballing could be gone. If you're wondering how the drop in interest rates is going to affect your payment, give me a call. I'll be more than happy to show you all of the options available to get you into your new home. And for every single loan that we close for a fellow Knoll, I will personally donate $250 per closing to the Battles Inn. Let's do this together, and let's keep climbing. Call me today at 954-369-6171. That's 954-369-6171. Or you can find me online at loansforknolls.com. That's loansforknolls.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 373031.
Hey, Jimmy.
Yeah.
You got one of those new cars that keeps you in the lane when you're driving or slams on the brakes if you get too close to another car?
No, I don't like that fancy technology stuff.
A lot of people don't. It's called lane departure warning and forward collision alert. And all that fancy stuff is attached to your windshield. So if it gets damaged, you need a qualified company like Seminole Auto Glass to replace and recalibrate your windshield. But don't call your insurance company. Just go to SeminoleAutoGlass.com and upload your insurance card. Hey, Jimmy.
What?
Did you know that Teslas come with a unique new car smell? They call it Elon Musk.
Oh.
Better call Seminole.
Keeping power reliable and affordable here in Florida is our most important commitment. At Duke Energy, we're working across our communities, strengthening our systems, rerouting power to help avoid outages, and adding proven innovations that will help make the grid stronger and more secure today and ready for tomorrow. Because Florida deserves more reliable and affordable power, and we're determined to deliver it. Paid for by Duke Energy shareholders.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Greta, Tallahassee. The latest betting odds and live movements from Vegas. This is your action update. Now here are your latest lines from our guys in the desert.
We continue to look ahead to the NFL's wild card weekend that's going to begin on Saturday. One of the first games will be the Dolphins going to Kansas City for a matchup against the Chiefs. Kansas City, a 4.5-point favorite, over under at 44.5. And then on Monday, the Buccaneers, they play host to the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles are favored by 3. The over-under at 43.5. NBA basketball tonight. The Heat are at home as they host the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder are favored by 4.5 on the road, paying out at minus 188. The Heat pay plus 158. Over-under at 233.5. College basketball tonight. Florida favored by 2.5 against Ole Miss. Kansas favored by 6.5 at Central Florida.
For the latest odds all the time, visit vsin.com. I'm Matt Pauley. This has been your action update on Tallahassee's Real Talk station, Real Talk 93.3.
I feel like I'm constantly cleaning hair off my bathroom floor. At least my Swiffer Sweeper makes it easy. Sweeper heavy-duty dry cloths have ultra-thick pads to trap and lock hairs, like a hair magnet. And when I'm finished cleaning up my hair, Sweeper takes care of his too. Now the hair is gone, all thanks to Swiffer. Try Swiffer Sweeper heavy-duty dry cloths. I promise you'll love them or your money back. And also try Swiffer Sweeper Wet to make quick work of tough, sticky messes.
Progressive presents 10 things on a plumber's to-do list that are harder than getting a small business insurance quote. Waking up for 5 a.m. plumbing disasters, finding out why water is pouring from the ceiling while telling a customer to leave the room, replacing a pipe in a home from the 1800s, then dealing with invoices or your awkward apprentice or that really weird smell, and then there's breathing and eating, and of course, clogs. But the easiest thing on any small business owner's to-do list, seeing if you could save on the business insurance that's right for you. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated and third-party insurers.
I'm Franklin, and I've been a Paul's Termite technician for well over 10 years. Working for a great company like Paul's Termite and Pest Control is a blessing for my family and myself. I get tremendous satisfaction knowing that the work I do helps protect most people's biggest investment, their homes, the place where they raise their families and build lifelong relationships. Paul's is a company that stands behind their commitments to customers and employees, and that makes me proud to represent them.
I'm Jay. Having the privilege to work with people like Franklin and all of our employees is truly an honor. There is no doubt that the staff of Paul's Termite and Pest Control is the best in our industry. All of our people are local, and local really does mean something. We're North Floridians. Our kids go to school here. We shop here. We build relationships here, and we honor our commitments. To all of our customers, thanks for trusting us to protect your family, pets, and home.
For the elimination of termites, any other pests, and a greener lawn too, call Paul's. We'll get them all.
Hello, I'm Jimmy Fasig.
And I'm Dana Brooks of Fasig Brooks Law Offices.
When you're in an accident, traffic cameras can be the best source of evidence to prove who's at fault.
That's why Fasig Brooks has partnered with RoadProof to have access to all their traffic camera footage.
With RoadProof, we can search our network of traffic cameras to find the evidence that could help you win your case.
Call us today to see if we can help find the proof to help you come back stronger.
Call us now at 850-777-7777.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5,
to make note of it, to kind of try to analyze it as best we can, but it is not easy, and it's always changing. So they got good news yesterday, Florida State did, to recap. Tomiwa Durajaye signed with Florida State, the defensive end from West Virginia. And that was really good news. I think the potential for him is pretty high to be a good football player. And he's got multiple years to play, and he's athletic, so we'll go from there. They are still working on others within that realm, and there's positive energy. There's some good stuff out there. Let's wait and see. And I say wait and see because I see you guys in the chat, and I looked at stuff during the break, and we can't live and die with kids on social media. I can't do it. I can't do it, Tom. I can't do it when they're like all in, can't wait, proud to be a Nole. This is what this era has done to me. I'm like, maybe. Guys could tweet out, hey, I've never wanted to be anywhere in my life more than I want to be in Tallahassee, Florida, and play for the Florida State Seminoles. Here's a picture of me weeping in celebration of joining the tribe. I can't believe I get to play on Saturdays for Florida State. Here's another photo of me walking campus currently. By the way, fellas, look at all these beautiful women. I'm here in Tallahassee to stay forever. What an incredible town. What a great university and tradition. I'll be here forever. This is my home. Let's go. Can't wait to see you all Saturdays in the fall. I'd go. Maybe. I don't know. Not so sure. Not so sure I believe them. I don't know if that's accurate. Or they could tweet out, or Instagram out, or Facebook out, or Snapchat out, or TikTok out, or whatever it is that they're doing. I hate this place and I hate Mike Norvell. I want this city to burn to the ground. These bastards are liars, cheats, thieves, whores. All of them. I hate them. I'm never coming back to Tallahassee. And I would go, I think there's a good chance we get them. Good chance we sign them. I think we're going to be all right. Let's just wait and see, guys. Breathe. Let's just wait and see. So it's ridiculous. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
But sir, Marvin Jones Jr. Instagram has no Florida State stuff whatsoever, including his transfer commitment post. And in his reels and his stories, I should say, there are 2 posts of him in Georgia uniforms in the last hour.
Yeah, so well, that doesn't seem ideal, does it, Tom? But I don't know.
Sir, I think you need to take this more seriously.
We'll wait and see, buddy. Wait and see. Feel pretty good. He's going to be here. Could be wrong. Maybe in the next commercial break, we'll get another one.
So I was going to say, the sad thing is, the coaching staff legitimately has to, because there are unlimited transfers these days, worry about this at all times. So I'm sure that whether it's somebody's full-time job or an intern or a graduate assistant or whatever.
Oh, it'd suck.
Like, their job is to monitor player social media at all times, flag it if there's something concerning, and then pass it up to another staffer. Like, does Bruce come in here?
Can you imagine Bruce, who's worked in the NFL and helped move a franchise from one city to another?
Yeah.
Being told, hey, Bruce, can you check on Johnny's TikTok?
Right. Yeah.
Or he was dancing in some jersey that is not ours.
It could be Derek Ray's job. Derek, look, I know you said don't call you, only text. Don't call me unless there's a red flag here. But this guy, he just posted a reel, and it's in Athens. And he actually did the location services, and it says Athens. Now, was he on a vacation, Derek, or is this something that I should have called you about?
Yeah, I don't think you'd have to pay me a lot of money. You'd have to pay me a lot of money. I mean, like, I don't want that call, right? Norvell texted me at 5:37 a.m. Jeff, listen, I need you to drive on over to Kyle's apartment. Remember where he lives the last time you had to do this? You mean last week, Mike? Yeah. He's been TikToking now. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. And I don't know. Might have been out partying last night, but he had on a Memphis shirt. I don't think we're going to lose the kid to Memphis, but he was wearing a Memphis shirt, and then he jumped in a pool. Whose pool was that? I need you to find that out. And then also, what's with this Memphis stuff? Need to know that he's going to be playing backup right guard for us come the fall. I'll be right on it. I'll get over there. Can you send me the link to the TikTok of him jumping in said pool with the Memphis shirt? This is what we're doing? It's oh man.
Well, the thing is too with those apps, if you don't have the native app on your phone and you get sent the link, it's this other thing. It could send you to a web page and it's like sign up now. So that means that legitimately every one of these
have to be on, yeah.
You have to have an account. So you have to sign up for an account. And you know what? If this was a thing when the Yeti was around a few years ago as a social, I mean, my God, like think about all these little apps that you have to have communiques on. If you're the director of high school relations for Florida State, at the very least, but probably even it rises to the level of position coaches, coordinators, and maybe the head coach, that you have to have all of these apps on your phone. And if you're Mike Norvell, maybe you have a list of all your players on TikTok so that you can check every so often. That there
are apps and social media services and whatever that I've never heard of. I learn about them all the time through my kids. And I tried this game that we're talking about that a coach would have to go through now. So, like, let's say, all right, so this is what's out there now. Marvin Jones Jr., if you're wondering why we're doing this, I think they call it scrubbed his social media platform, whichever one it was. Instagram, is that right?
As though he was the founder of WikiLeaks or he was Snowden. And, and he's scrubbing his hard drive before the feds get to him.
So he's scrubbed his social media accounts of Florida State stuff, and people are flipping out. And okay, I get it. I'm just saying, based on what we were talking about, it's hilarious. It's just I wouldn't do it. All right, man. But I know how it happens, though. I know this is the hard part. On a serious point. And this is, it seems absurd to all of us. Once you get past the age of like 25, you'd be like, well, this is just stupid. But if you're 17 or 18 or 19, or more importantly, just you grew up in this era, you have been the star of your own film since you can remember. That's all you know is this vapid, ridiculously, well, I don't want to go down this road, but anyhow, that this is all you know to be true, is that you are the star of your own movie. Now add that you're good at football or basketball or baseball or whatever it is that's going to see you get recruited in the way that kids get recruited. And you're told from the time you're very young, you're the best of these kids out here. You're bigger, stronger, faster, and that's going to pave the way. And then people are going to fall all over themselves to tell you this on a daily basis, but they have ulterior motives. They're going to try to manipulate you to do this, this, and this. And so the only thing you know is that when you do something like this, when you make a movie or a reel or you post something controversial on Twitter or whatever, that everybody reacts in mass. You get thousands upon thousands of views and tweets and retweets and impressions and all of the things that you so desperately desire because it's all you've ever known. And there is the magical release in your brain that says all is right because this is happening, and you are then brought back to it over and over and over again. Like this is their world. It's awful. It's an awful thing that they don't even realize it. And then to have some old man like me sit back and be like, yeah, you look like a dumbass, all of you. You look ridiculous. They can't even relate in the same way that I can't relate to them. But I know where the origin is. I get it. I know where it's from, and I know why.
but you can be an old man and you can be in those offices at Moore or wherever across the country. And you have to sit in a meeting in which your director of high school relations or your general manager of the operation says, look, I just want to be clear on communication. If it rises to the level that we have a player who scrubs all of their Florida State stuff, do you want to be notified about that? Is that at the level that we should call you? Or
you would have to do it, right?
That's a conversation that has to happen. Like, okay, is it what about let's see, a reel? If they release a reel where they say something negative about the staff, do you want to know about that, or is that something I handle?
Is this a curse word in a tweet? We gonna leave that be? That's cool. We're all right there. Yeah, all right. There's certain code words that you will be notified when used. That is a standard. It's in your contract. You can read it over. I'm not going to waste our time in the meeting here. There are certain words that if used, you have to respond to immediately.
What if the coach, they live stream on IG and they're in the driver's seat of a car? And let's say that, they're just talking, but clearly they're not abiding by traffic safety. Given what happened in Georgia, given what happened in Georgia, should we nip this one in the bud? Should I call you?
Well, okay. Are they not abiding by the letter of the law to the traffic statutes, or are they racing at 140 miles per hour at 1 a.m? There's a big difference. So you gotta let me know.
Look, we can all agree that Georgia had a major culture problem last year when it came to that. Now, I know we don't talk about that this year because of the Orange Bowl narrative, but let's be honest, Coach. I mean, we don't want that Georgia situation here. We don't want that situation here at all. So, when do I call you? Is it the safety belt? Is it racing? Anything in between? Running a red light? What if somebody captures them on TikTok running a red light at College Town after 11 p.m.? Should I call you then?
It's exhausting. I would want to rise to a level where I didn't have to worry about it, but you can't do that, of course, if you're a head coach. You can't do it. You got to pay attention to all of it. You got at least have somebody who's making you aware of it. I don't know what's going to happen, guys. For those of you who asked me the question in the chat, email, Twitter, all of it, I don't know what's going to happen with Marvin Jones Jr. I don't even know what it means that he scrubbed his Instagram page. I know what it means, like he took off Florida State or whatever, but does that mean he's gone? Maybe not. I don't know. I just know that if you worry about this sort of thing, you're going to be worried 24 hours a day, all day, 7 days a week, year round, because it never ends. There's always a guy. And this is apparently everywhere. And it makes it very difficult to gauge on what your roster is going to look like. And that's what we're trying to get to. Like, I was talking about, half kidding, half, tongue in cheek, but I was just talking about the good moves that Florida State made yesterday. Tomi Dirajai coming here is a big deal. I think that's a good get for them. They're in the running to be able to get another defensive end, we think. They may end up bringing in the Zion Young kid from Michigan State. We'll wait and see. Now, we're still waiting on Briggs here on this defensive line. That'll affect, the money some, and then also scholarships and what you're doing. I don't know if he's going to play or not play. There are a couple of names for the offensive line, including Ferguson, that we're waiting on. I think Florida State is fighting with Oklahoma for that get. We'll see if the Richie Leonard kid comes in from Florida. They're still fighting to bring him in as well. DJ Lundy, who, if you missed the news in the first hour, has now removed his name from the transfer portal despite having gone out to Colorado and taken pictures in a Colorado uniform and been added to the Colorado football roster. Instead, now it's, looking like he may be very well back here at Florida State University playing football. Now, what does that mean? My assessment of DJ Lundy is that he's an average linebacker. But you don't have a lot of linebackers. In sheer numbers, you don't have a lot of linebackers, and you certainly don't have a ton of quality linebackers. So getting DJ Lundy back is a plus. It will be, you need him. You need him. He's played a lot, and he's very good against the run. So, okay, you got something there, and I think they need to add more. We'll see if they do. There's still certainly a conversation that centers around what else happens come the spring. Spring can't get here fast enough for me, guys. I'm really excited about the competition that's being created now. If we look at big picture, what Florida State's done, they brought in a lot of speed. You see some really talented players that have made their way in from the likes of LSU and Alabama, and Georgia. That's good news. We talked about the defensive backfield already, Tom, so that's not why I'm re-glossing over that or not glossing over that right now. But there's real competition here, real speed here, and some depth along this defensive line. It looks like they're going to add to the offensive line as well. Let's see. Let's see if they can do anything out to complete the roster. And again, I think we'll know most of this stuff, whether it is the Oregon State defensive end, whether it's Ferguson on the offensive line, whether it's Leonard on the offensive line, whether it's another edge rusher in addition to what we just brought in from West Virginia. We'll know most of all this by Friday, certainly Saturday morning. So you don't have to hold your breath too much longer. But the stuff that I'm making fun of and kind of just, rolling my eyes at, that stuff you have to worry about every day if you want to.
The thing is,
it's maddening.
As I understood it, most of the kids that had announced via the portal to us enrolled this semester, and the deadline is tomorrow with the dean's list, without the dean's letter or whatever. But it's my understanding that they enrolled. Now, I don't know if that creates a logistical hurdle or a logistical mountain, if any one of the kids really, I'm just speaking generally now. Like, I don't know with the way the NCAA rules are now, if you enroll in a university in a semester, that creates a major problem for you to go back to another university or not. But as I understood it, like most of the dudes that we've heard about since Marvin, who was the first one, but in that slew since then, and they're already here enrolled and ready to go because they need to be available for spring practice. So that would just be another funny one. But then again, in a world in which DJ Lundy is still on Colorado's website,
for a Colorado jersey, pads, all of it.
I suppose that anything's possible. I mean, it's possible that even maybe Zaxby's might open up a place right here in Queens County, New York, right next to where I live. And maybe I just have one that I go to lunch every day for.
Proud Golden Chief boosters they are at Zaxby's for over 18 years, 19 full years now. We could just say it, Tom.
Yeah, we're going to update that graphic.
Yeah, it's been a full 19.
Yeah.
So, hey, there you go. Get you some Zaxby's. 132 locations here in Tallahassee. That's more than enough to find on your drive home. Don't feel like cooking tonight? Get you some tasty Zaxby's with that spicy Zax sauce. Tom's in love with the Texas toast. You could dip it in the Zax sauce too, by the way.
You have to say it
You can kind of do an impromptu sandwich, Tom. You can take the finger, dip it in the sauce, take the Texas toast, wrap finger in said Texas toast, double dip in the sauce, and you're rolling Big River.
You have to get kind of like into it too. When you do that, you're like Texas toast. You have to really like lean into it. Give me some of that.
So,
hey, babe, can I have some of that Texas toast?
If Jamie's by the platter, do you go, Texas toast, please?
Yeah. You know what's in that container over there?
Texas toast.
Take two
Always
slices.
tasty Texas toast is in that container, I tell you.
I'll take 2 slices.
Go on, get. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Excellence defines us, so we'll never let orthopedic pain and injury define you. TOC is a physician-led team of fellowship-trained specialists providing the highest level of orthopedic care in the region. With 12 centers of excellence and TOC Now urgent care clinics, our patients access affordable expert care fast. TOC, only experts. Schedule an appointment at teamtoc.com.
There's nothing like relaxing in a hot tub after a long day. But if you don't have one, you're truly missing out. Hot tubs and spas have tremendous health benefits, besides just helping you relax. Like improving your sleep, they help with pain relief. They help to better your cardiovascular health, and so much more. And this season is the perfect season to finally buy what you've been wishing for. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas has the hot tubs you need for the price you want. Come shop our huge 12,000 square foot showroom and save today. There's over 50 hot tubs in stock right now, so you won't have to wait weeks on end for that delivery to finally come to town. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come visit our huge showroom at 2473 Greer Road with over 50 hot tubs to choose from. You'll be glad you did.
Zaxby's Sensation Salad is so much more than a plain old salad. It's a salad, which begs the question, At what point does a salad stop being a salad and become a salad? Is it when you add Zaxby's fried chicken to it? Crunchy wontons? Asian slaw? Citrus vinaigrette? Teriyaki glaze? Sweet and spicy sauce? Or is it when you top it all with a handmade perfectly fried egg roll? Without a doubt, the egg roll. The sensation salad, only at Zaxby's.
A cup of Joe, Java, Brew, Go-Go Beans, Brainwater, Liquid Lightning, Wakey Juice, whatever you call your cup of coffee, you're missing out if it's not Grassroots Coffee. At grassrootscoffee.com, you'll find an easy way to order the best roasted coffee beans available. It's very simple. Choose the blend you want and how you want it ground, and the bag you receive will have the date your beans were roasted and packaged on it, all written by hand and signed by the roast master himself. You'll know that's as fresh as it gets. You can get Grassroots outside of your house also at some of your favorite restaurants in town. Next time you're out to eat, try asking for Grassroots Coffee by name, because there's a good chance they will have it for you. And if you own a business, Grassroots Coffee has options to stock your break rooms with all the productivity powder your team needs. Plus, like some other options that you'll find at work, Grassroots Coffee actually is a part of our community. Get to grassrootscoffee.com today and get yourself a treat. Some locally owned, locally roasted, and locally loved Grassroots Coffee.
From the front lines of the fight against socialism, it's America in View.
Man, America is under attack. You and I have been on the front lines of the
visible toning and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida.
Wednesday. Missed on a couple of super chats. Let me get to them. South Florida Noel 1 wrote, watched my first FSU basketball game of the season last night. They weren't bad. Hopefully they're finding their footing. Yeah, talked about that a little bit earlier, South Florida Noel, probably when you tweeted this in, or excuse me, chatted this in, and I didn't bother to respond to it. So you're right about that. A lot of nice runs there for Florida State to counter, and then Wake countered back. But if you're just talking about a balance of performance, a lot of guys played, a lot of guys scored. You had great performances from Jameer Watkins and Bob Miller and Darren Green Jr. So Florida State was really bad in the non-conference. I know the record says they're mediocre, but when you look at the quality of the opponents, 6-5 was not ideal in the non-conference portion of the schedule. They are in a three-way tie currently, however, in the ACC with Wake and Duke, and that's another win. And so it was that last hour. Little ding-ding. They're on pace to be a ding-ding as opposed to the beep-beep. And last couple of years, they weren't even eligible for the beep-beep. So you'll go with the ding-ding for those old school listeners and hope like hell at some point it elevates to a choo-choo. Right now, I haven't had the heart to do it, but they do play Notre Dame this weekend on Saturday. Notre Dame on the year 7-9, 2-3 in the ACC. Very young team, playing a little bit better right now, Notre Dame is, than they did to start the year. They've been battling back as well, so it won't be as easy as it looks on the surface given their record. They'll play hard. They'll play better than they were playing earlier in the year. You'll have to go earn it, but Florida State might be good enough to go do that. Joshua Stevens writes, what are we doing about linebacker for spring practice? Are we just going to ride with DJ? He means DJ Lundy, who it looks like now is back at Florida State. Riding with DJ and the youngins? Are we moving Courtney and Barker? Well, Courtney was already moved, you remember, at my behest. And as far as Barker goes, yeah, I think someday he could be a linebacker. He's certainly big, and you could put some weight on him. We'll see. But, yeah, if so, he writes 2 fingers to my eyes, 2 fingers to Randy. Oh, buddy, those 2 fingers to my eyes and back to Randy, and then again and again and again and again and again and again and again has been done by me repeatedly. I don't know what purpose he serves currently on this staff. They're not able to get kids on campus. They don't win over big-time recruits at linebacker. Linebacker play isn't great. Yeah, I think there's all kinds of problems there. But, hey, that's me. We'll see. They just got an extension. That'll hurt your feelings. That's a toughie. But then again, Mike might see it differently, and he's the head coach. They went 13-0 and played real good on defense. So there it is. Lessons to be learned, in my opinion, if they don't do something at that spot soon. I think they got to do something. I'm a little frustrated. We'll see. They're maybe in on the Alabama linebacker. Is Blackshear? Is that his name? Is that he's
Blackshear?
Blackshear, yeah. One thing about him, I will say this: I'm willing to bring in an Alabama linebacker. Excited about a talent like that that's recruited to a place like Alabama. Would seem to have the requisite athleticism to come and play at Florida State, even if he's not upper crust and couldn't cut it at Alabama. Let's say. I still think he'd probably be good enough to break our starting rotation. But the one thing, when you do watch him, he's not good in coverage, and either is DJ Lundy. So right now, the guy that you have that's good in coverage, and that's something a linebacker must be able to do, is you have to – Nicholson's the only guy you have that can really help you in coverage at linebacker right now. I think he can.
My hope is that Cryer has a really good camp as well. And he came in late in the process in fall. Transfer from Northwestern. But that's a player that if you're looking for somebody to attach hope to, that would be the player I'm looking at to see maybe he has a spring that turns some heads. Otherwise, yeah, you are leaning on a forced development for Blake Nicholson. He played a lot of positions in high school, a lot of different positions. And what they talked about this fall was, well, okay, now you need to specialize. And just because you're, a great athlete doesn't mean at the level at Florida State that you're going to be able to hide. You can hide your deficiencies either with instinct or technique through your athleticism. It overcomes it. It just doesn't happen at the college level. So they were hoping he was going to take a step forward in development as he specialized in the position of linebacker. Well, now you need it to happen. Ideally, you want to be in a position where somebody's in their 3rd year in the program when you need it to happen to round out your 2 deep. That's where they stand right now. Now, there is another portal window in the spring, but it kind of sucks that you can't, find more solutions now, and DJ helps, no doubt, but find more solutions now that could be integrated with the practices in spring, which would be very valuable. Even if you're a veteran, to be able to get here for an extra camp would be very valuable for, projecting out what you could be in the fall.
Yeah, and don't go crazy on a day-to-day basis waiting on the good and the bad of all this. I think there's good news on the horizon for Florida State here. It continues to trend in that direction. I compliment the Battles Inn for a lot of this. I know they're working very hard. I know Mike Norvell is working very hard. So if you get some uptick and more, position fill with quality players, if you're able to get a Ferguson, we'll see. Maybe we'll know something within the week on him. I think that, and I'm really counting on that being something that maybe works out for Florida State here. Rumor is they're fighting with Oklahoma for that kid. So let's see who wins that battle. Beats the hell out of fighting with, say, Georgia for that kid right now. Oklahoma is not exactly as much as I like Oklahoma and have talked about that in the past. I mean, we're formidable in this realm. I think we can compete with Oklahoma. Let's put it that way. The other offensive lineman that Florida State's been looking at is the kid Richie Leonard from Florida. We'll see if they bring him in. I would like another defensive lineman, and obviously at this point, really all I'm looking at is 2 or 3 linebackers, Tom. And then I'd say, let's ride. Let's go. Got us some. We've got quarterback. We upgraded in the secondary as well. Got speed at wide receiver as well as a return specialist. I already like our situation at running back. I think it's pretty good. You saw the Battles In has done a good job of retaining a number of players that have been announced in the last 48 hours, some of whom are difference makers that you need to retain, others of whom are depth pieces. But I think it's starting to come together and make for a pretty interesting spring roster. Florida State does not look like a team that was going to go and did go 13-0 this past year, only to take a step back to 7-5. I think right now you can start to say, all right, maybe a tick up here in worst case scenario, best case scenario. When we do that, when we gauge percentages and we say, what are they worst case scenario? I think you'd go from 7-5 worst case scenario to probably 8-4 with what they've added. And who knows, maybe by the end of spring, we're saying 9-3, 10-2 worst case scenario. That'd be something. Because remember, despite what we thought, going into last year, there were some subtle things that still needed to be done to get you to project some elite season on the heels of 10-3. That final thing that had to be done and was done was bringing in Keon Coleman. Now, they retained superstars like Jordan Travis and Jared Verse. We knew that was important. But I'm talking about going in the portal and bringing others in. Getting Keon Coleman, that's when, Tom, we were like, oh, whoa, forget it. You're going to put him on the other side of Johnny Wilson, and now you've got these tight ends to boot. We already were loaded in the backfield. You got Jordan Travis to return. You got depth pieces on the offensive line. Only then did we start talking about 10-2, 11-1, 12-0 being a possibility. For Florida State, I'm not projecting them there right now, but I would tell you that I think with these additions, and I've got a sense they're going to add more here. There's real positive momentum that they're going to add more here. And then you get DJ Lundy back, who, again, is not a world beater at linebacker, but he's not terrible. He's an average linebacker, and you need a guy who's played a lot of football at that position. You need bodies there. So getting him back is a plus today. I would tell you that, okay, right now I still feel good that the worst-case scenario is probably moved to 8-4. Best-case scenario is still on the horizon. Let's see what else they add.
Yeah, they're a lot closer to, as you like to say, let's just make it happen. Let's roll it out there and see what we got. They're a lot closer to that now than they were a week ago. The funny thing is, bringing in Keon, bringing in Jaheim, and as loaded as that offense was, the season didn't play out the way we thought it would, which is that this offense is going to break 50 on the regular. The defense is going to struggle, but are they going to be competent enough to complement an explosive top 3 offense in the country in order to win the games necessary? Instead, what ended up happening was there were moments that the offense looked like it we were hoping that it would look like. Their injury luck was awful.
Awful.
And the defense, honestly, was the group that, if you want to talk about putting the team on their back between the two sides, the defense did it more often than the offense did it this year. And I could say it was a dead heat before Jordan got hurt, that the defense put the team on its back more than the offense did. So you never know how it's going to play out. But the more good talent you have, obviously, you could be in a position like Florida State was, where they could have won the national championship with a backup quarterback because of what that defense had turned into by the end of the season. And I like to see that they're fortifying the defensive line right now. Again, it's assuming that they retain both Jackson and Farmer. But if you do that and you bring in a Lolo Hea, or you bring in the kid from Zion from Michigan State.
Yeah, they might get both, yeah.
If you get both, this is something where they like to rotate a lot as it is. You are absolutely can rotate a bunch.
You've changed your rotation where you're not having to rotate in a Gilbert Edmond, who was no longer on the team, obviously, but he also wasn't any good. So now all of a sudden you're like, okay, all right, now we're upgrading, again, raising the floor of talent, not just for your starters, but for your backups and those rotations. Yes, they like to rotate a lot of people, but if you upgrade the skill level that's being rotated in each time it happens, hell yeah, I'm in. I'd be excited about all of this. By the way, it was a weird year last year, Tom, to your point about what we thought we had and what we ended up having. You come out the gates, you scored 45 points against LSU. You really kind of do whatever you want in the passing game against them. Your big signing was Keon Coleman, and he was a superstar in that football game. Jaheim Bell was another big-time player that you were excited about by bringing him in at tight end. He was healthy to start the year. He made big plays in that game. He looked lightning quick. All of a sudden, you thought, okay, here we go. We're all set. 66 points against Southern Miss. You didn't even play very well against them. Then you had the hiccup, which was the flu game against Boston College, in which it was weird. You really started fine in the first half. People forget that. But then you got kind of bogged down and it avalanched on you. And the next thing you know, you're sucking wind. Got guys rotating that could barely breathe. You hold on, win 31-29. You don't look good at all on offense against Clemson, but you win the game on the road. You're the only ACC team to beat them at Clemson. And you win that game 31-24 in overtime. And it really was just kind of the trying to make big plays, just throw it over their heads over and over because you could not run the ball to save your life. Virginia Tech was a team you had overwhelmed. You also had a big special teams play there. It was a weird game, 39-17. Syracuse couldn't play. Then the Duke game. Then we start getting into all of where we're trying to figure out exactly what we are. But I would argue down the stretch, Pitt, Miami, obviously North Alabama, where Jordan gets hurt. We weren't playing well on offense in that game. We were getting beat in the first quarter to a point where he has to decide to run. Unfortunately, it's a devastating decision, and it leads to a broken leg. And then obviously the offense didn't perform the rest of the year. So it was just a strange campaign. You never got everything clicking the way you wanted it to because of the injury luck that you're alluding to. But at this point, I think you would want to, go back and say, all right, well, what worked, what didn't work, and what are they trying to change? I think that they look at all of those games and say, save for the first few, they never really had an explosive option down the field. That's what this offseason has told me. They are grabbing speed. Not all of it was terribly productive at their last stop. Some of it was. But they're grabbing guys that can really fly. They want to stretch the field.
And they've got the quarterback to do it. If this was – we've had some quarterbacks over the years. If this was Hornibrook, that would not be a wise idea. But you have DJ, and DJ's got a freaking cannon. And if DJ, for whatever reason, got banged up in a series or two or a quarter, Brock has a cannon. So you're all set there speed-wise. The other thing I think – well, two things. Number one, I'd say the ideal version of our team we got to see for one half, and it was the second half against LSU. That was it. The rest of the year, there were circumstances, injuries, whatever, where you didn't get to see that team at full strength. It never happened again. So that's why if you get a half like you do against LSU and it happens next season, soak that in. Really enjoy that post game because
there's no guarantee it's going to continue.
I mean, it didn't for us. Now, some games were easy, but it never looked like that. That was an avalanche of its own kind. And that was 2013-esque, that avalanche that they put on LSU. And we didn't get to see that again. Now, the defense did that for stretches. The Louisville game looked like 2013, the way that they played. It was tremendous. The other thing I'd say that they're shopping for is while they had 8 that they knew they could win with on the offensive line, and by definition, they did win with 8. They won all 13 that they played.
Yeah.
They couldn't run their stuff. They couldn't run their bread and butter stuff.
Well, they couldn't run the ball.
And right. So that's, you could tell that they were kind of staggered when they're getting hit with a jab where they can't run their base plays, that they were out of sync and they didn't really know what to do. Now they were banged up at receiver as well. So that all these things combined together. And I think they protected Jordan for the very thing that ended up happening to Jordan anyway against North Alabama. So all those things conspire against your consistency on offense. But they're bringing in a lot of offensive linemen where I think they want more than 8 options, and they want to be able to run their plays. They want to be able to run their offense, and they weren't able to last year.
Yeah, they got frustrated. Mike got frustrated. It got bogged down. I think it was extremely frustrating to watch that play out in the manner that it did. But if you go back and just look at FSU, we lost a lot on first down, Tom. We kept talking about this offensive line not living up to what they could have been, and it really began on first down. And you, from there, became a team that, at the end of the day, when we looked at the success rate of the rushing attack, and we looked at the, I guess you would just say total plays, scrimmage plays, rushing plays, any of the explosive plays, you had some explosiveness to your offense because of Trey Benson. So people might get it skewed. They might look at those and see these explosive plays. So what are you talking about, Jeff? In the run game, we had all these big plays. But if you went down to down and you look at those numbers, down to down, it ain't good. It ain't good. They got to get that back because 2 years ago they could.
I did the report on that with the help of Sports Info Solutions data. And I don't know if you remember that one, but
yeah.
So getting to the line of scrimmage, we were about as good last year in terms of contact rate against the running back, how often you get without harm, without being touched, to the line of scrimmage. And really it was to that first level, but we were not adept because we love to pull and create angles and do all that stuff. The downfield blocks, the agility to get downfield and seal things off, that was the difference. We had explosive plays, sure, A lot of them were house calls, but not nearly as many, not nearly as consistently as 2 years ago. That running game turned in a lot of 12s and 18s and 22-yard gains in addition to the home runs. This one, it was 2, 3, 6, 3, 2, 1, -1, 60. Like, it looked more like the Jayshon Corbin, LaDamian Webb Florida State than it did, the one from 2022, which was just a running game that got off the bus and they knew that they could put it on you for 300 yards if that's what Mike wanted to do on that given day.
Mike will go into the offseason, oddly enough, kind of frustrated because I say oddly enough, we already know what happened with the snub. I'm not talking about that. But when he goes back and looks at the offensive numbers and the success rate, he knows that they could be so much better if they have some semblance of a running game. Their total EPA in the run game was 94th. It was per play 91st. It was per game 92nd. That ain't it. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
News now.
A 17-year-old is in custody after an exhaustive manhunt by Tallahassee police Tuesday for a suspect they say fired on one of their own. Just after 12:30 p.m. Tuesday at the Greens at Old St. Augustine Apartments in southeast Tallahassee near Hilliman Golf Course, TBD alleges the officer was responding to a domestic disturbance at the complex. The 17-year-old opened fire on the officer and then fled the scene on foot. The officer was not struck by the gunfire or harmed. It is unclear at this time whether the teen will be charged as an adult or a juvenile. 3 vehicles crashed into falling trees in Madison County amid heavy rain and winds. Authorities urged residents to stay off roadways while severe weather worked its way through the region Tuesday. One of the accidents involved a deputy who was responding to another downed tree on a curb. The deputy was not injured because of a heavy-duty bumper on his patrol unit. This is Rachel Anay with your Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MaclemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Mainly sunny skies this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 57. Westerly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Cloudy skies expected tonight. Lows dip down to about 41. Overcast skies tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 63. Highs around 73 Friday with thunderstorms likely 73 Saturday. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawns.com. Currently 55.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. So everybody knows, Eddie, that you are a spectacular cook. Of course they know that. If they go into Bumpa's, the food is always good. I mean, everything on the menu.
Mm-hmm.
Everything at Gordo's is delicious. I always, of course, get the bungalow chungla, as I call it.
The bungalow chung, Jeff?
Is that what is the pork?
The bungalow chung, Jeff.
Okay, the bungalow chungla. It's delicious. All these things, all the items, everything you do, a master cook. But, sir, I would ask you, what is a skill that you possess that you're particularly proud of that nobody would know and that you could share with us here?
Growing hair, Jeff. Growing hair.
You're an asshole. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.
Shakeup in the NFL. Meanwhile, in Chicago, Eberflus is staying. They do fire their OC. And then that question becomes, do the Bears draft quarterback Caleb Williams in the first round with the number 1 pick because they got it. And a lot of people are leaning in that direction. Do they hold on to Justin Fields or try to trade him from there? Drake May likely to go second to Washington. And then from there, we start getting into all. It's funny. The thought is the first 3 might be quarterbacks. First 3 to 4 might be quarterbacks. By the way, could you pass, Tom, on Marvin Harrison Jr. if you were Chicago? I know you got a 1 pick, but you could trade down in this draft and get Marvin Harrison Jr. Also have the 9th pick, I believe, right?
Yeah, it gets interesting if you're trying to assess, do you keep your quarterback? Because if you keep Fields, then that opens up all sorts of possibilities about pick loading and roster loading. So if you keep him and you trade out of 1, then you could really fill up your roster with a ton of talent. So I think they still need to go with a new quarterback. I can't imagine this charade goes on longer. The Field story is nice. I am curious as to why they kept their coach, though. I figure with as many guys as that are hitting the open market right now, and I think the Pete Carroll thing, where he is no longer the head coach, but he's an advisor, that's for draft capital to see if they can go get a pick or 2 for Pete Carroll no longer being in Seattle as the active head coach. That's a wise play. Did you see the report about Tennessee and Vrabel that essentially they were too lazy to hang on to him to make a trade to a different trade? So they said the hell with it. This is too hard.
It's very weird to me because Vrabel, at least in NFL circles, well, I'll just say this observationally. 2 years ago, I think it was, he was the coach of the year. So you just fired a guy that was the coach of the year 2 seasons ago and is universally respected in terms of acumen for the game. Now, that roster needs an overhaul, but, he just won the last game. It wasn't a have-to-win game. They knocked Jacksonville out of the playoffs. His players love them. He just won coach of the year 2 years ago, and you get rid of him? That's bizarre. So everybody just kind of assumed that he's now going to be the next Patriots coach and that we'll hear that Bill Belichick is out? Probably. Because he fits, obviously, with New England perfectly. That's a weird set of circumstances. I don't know where. I'd like Mike Vrabel in Tampa. It's not going to happen.
Marvin Jones' question is an interesting one, though, because there are times where it feels like a franchise is cursed and you cannot have true dominance at receiver. Now, I know. With what's his name with the glasses? He had 2,000-yard receivers at the same time at Chicago. Mark Trestman, I think it was, that coach. First time it had ever been done in their franchise history. But you can stem the tide with one correct decision. Like, for example, Buffalo, forever and a day, I felt like could never have a true number 1 receiver. And then they got Stephon Diggs. And Diggs has been phenomenal. Cold weather, warm weather, doesn't matter. He dominates.
Josh Allen didn't miss him 60 yards downfield when he's wide open, but okay.
Oh, man.
I don't know. Josh Allen's a weird player, man. He is either the best player on the field or what the hell are you doing?
Well, and all of the outdoor games, including Tampa, there's a front that's going down there for rain more than, bad cold weather. But the game at Kansas City and the game at Buffalo, both are going to be apparently treacherous weather-wise. Kansas City at 0 degrees at kickoff.
Yeah, 0 degrees, yeah. Dolphins have to be happy they choked at home so that they could go on the road to play in 2-degree weather.
There's your reward. And then, hey, at least Robert Kraft knows that flight in case he wanted to start the day in Jupiter, and then he could fly to Kansas City.
Knows it well.
But then the Buffalo game potentially could have 20 to 30 mile an hour sustained winds in the cold. So, just figuring on what Josh Allen or Diggs could do from, say, perhaps a little Thursday perspective would be very difficult to nail down.
Some of you took advantage of my suggested bet last week that you take Josh Allen over 35 yards rushing, and we got back in the winner's circle on the player props for everybody there. I think when the games matter and you've got to have it, Josh Allen is allowed to take off, and he is a freakish athlete and a big, strong man. And now if it's going to be crazy windy, well, interested to see that player prop. That's probably going to be high because they know they got to run him. They know that he's going to run. So it will be interesting to find out the way those games play out. This is an interesting question from you and I love the draft and we love playing the role. Every NFL fan does this for their own team. And I think a lot of us do it for other people's teams just because it's a fun exercise to figure out what you get right and what you get wrong. And we all get a lot right and a lot wrong. as do NFL GMs. That's why it's a fun thing to do, because you're like, yeah, I know that guy gets paid an exorbitant amount of money and probably has greater football knowledge than me, yet they get it wrong all the time, so I'm going to engage in this little dance. And that's especially true at quarterback. And if you're Chicago, you kind of have to draft the quarterback, don't you?
Yeah. The thing is, which one? That's I mean, that sounds like such an obvious question to ask, but I mean, Caleb didn't have that great of a year, and
that was a ridiculous situation. I mean, they're in a situation where every game, you got to score 50.
Yeah,
you got to throw it a gazillion times, and they never get stops ever.
Agreed, but the problem is, do you create awful habits for a quarterback out of this necessity of him trying to win in a great year, or create a great year solely by his greatness, and you're trying to make the playoff, and it's got to be him dropping 50 a week? Is he now a turnover machine because of a forced habit? And at Chicago, you're going to have to overcome some stuff. There's a reason that they are still picking in the top 10, even though they already have the number 1 pick from Carolina. It's not like they improved themselves a whole ton in the season anyway.
Go back through the history of Chicago football. I mean, they've never really had an elite quarterback ever. McMahon wasn't an elite quarterback. He was perfect for that team, but that was the defense. That was a Walter Payton, and then on the other side was the defense. But you go back through it, they just never really had it. I mean, F&A, Rex Grossman took the Bears to the Super Bowl. there you go.
It was Jay Cutler and Alshon Jeffrey for like 10 minutes, and that's about it.
It's just frustrating, yeah. Good work out of you, sir. Good work, Director. Appreciate it as always. Thanks to all of you. Be well. Peace. We'll talk to you tomorrow.